To discuss this we are now joined in studio by the SACP's first Deputy Secretary General or General Secretary, Solly Mapaila, joins us in studio. Good evening and welcome to The Full View. Was the SAA, was SANCO there? Was SANCO represented at all?
No, it was not represented. It has not been there for quite some time because of internal challenges which we are addressing at the moment.
Yeah, but what did the Secretariat say about the whole SANCO instability? Because even at the January 8th statement, SANCO wasn't represented.
You'll know that after their last Congress, there was another Congress that took place. So effectively creating two SANCOs and the others taking each other to court. We then discussed that as the alliance and decided that there must be a political intervention. And during that process of intervention, we agreed that they may not necessarily actively participate because we don't know which structure should actually participate. But that matter has been attended to by the leadership of the alliance.
Yeah, but what does this mean then for the programs of SANCO in the meantime?
Well, of course, it's quite debilitating for us because SANCO plays a very important role at the civic level. And without it at the moment, the ANC, the Communist Party, who are organized largely in communities, have to try and replace it, but not to play some role without necessarily having the capacity to replace it because it's a mass movement of the people. So we still require a very strong, effective SANCO in our communities.
Going into the Alliance's Secretariat, there was this big issue, and the big issue was SAA, the minister, as well as the chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, saying that if this thing is not profitable, doesn't make money, get rid of it. What did the Secretariat have to say about this?
The Alliance Secretariat reaffirmed the Alliance position on the turning around and restructuring of SAA because we believe that the SAA should be turned around and it can be profitable and should remain the mainstay of our aviation strategy as a country and can contribute even economically. In fact, I can indicate that over the last 20 years, for instance, SAA has contributed to the national fiscus no less than 400 billion. Although we spend about 30 billion to bail it. And I think that is to the fiscus in its economic role playing. Perhaps there's no other state-owned entity that has done that, but we can make a research and analysis in that space. But what is critical is that we need that institution to exist. We need to protect workers' jobs, and we need also SAA to dominate effectively the domestic market. And we feel that the rescue practitioner's position was quite too hasty, and in fact, at best, displayed sheer incompetence by the team there, that immediately they come into office, they start cutting off elements of SAA before they even produce a report and discuss that report with the main shareholder, whose government. And that's why, for instance, they just announced a cutting of routes and effectively making SAA to even be lesser important in its own domestic market than Comair, for instance, or British Airways that flies to several destinations in our country. If those institutions can fly to different destinations in our country and make profit, there's nothing that can stop SAA from doing so and also make profit. That's why we've supported the turnaround rather than the liquidation that is now pursued by the rescue business practitioners.
Sure. Before we go back to the conduct of the business rescue practitioners, I just want to go back to the remarks by the minister as well as the chairperson of the ANC. Was this at all discussed within the Secretariat? Was there an explanation that was given that why would the chairperson of the ANC say something which is in contrary to what the ANC has decided on? And were you as the SACP satisfied with that explanation that was brought forward? Because we just heard now that the Secretary General of the party saying that Mr. Mantashe said that he was quoted out of context.
Well, I also had a personal discussion with him about this matter. But what is important is the fact that the ANC NWC also had a meeting yesterday, discussed this matter. We reaffirmed as the alliance today our own position and the position that has subsequently been adopted by government, that we need to turn around SAA and that SAA remains important.
What did he say?
For South Africa. Well, he has explained himself to the alliance, to the NWC. But from our discussion, of course, the main thing was that his statement was from the if part.
Yes.
So that was his main explanation. But of course, it's important that all of us as leaders, we must keep to the policy of the movement when we express ourselves. Not that we can have our own views, but particularly when a matter has been discussed several times. We just also recently come from an NEC Lekgotla, where this position of the alliance and the ANC, NEC itself was reaffirmed. So what we require is for our deployees as ministers and others in government to fully take charge of implementation of our decisions.
Is it ill discipline at all? And I'm asking this on the basis that this is probably the first time that I've heard the minister, as well as the chairperson of the ANC, speaking what is in contrary to the decisions that have been taken by the ANC, the resolutions that have been taken by the party. And then on the other end, you have the Minister of Finance, for instance, Tito Mboweni, who goes on and make public comments which are in contrary or contradiction to the resolutions taken by the party. Does that not amount to ill discipline?
Yeah, of course, that borders on ill discipline, particularly if an individual is called to order and it doesn't show remorse, continue with disregard for public policy positions of the organization. As we say, the movement is a democratic movement. It allows people to express themselves differently. But once you hold a particular position inside the movement, what you say is not your personal views necessarily, but you can debate any other issue in the scope of whatever is on the table, but you always represent the views of your collective. Otherwise, don't take the position of leadership, because once you are there, you have that particular responsibility, and it's also your duty to make sure that your members understand deeper the position of the organization, so that they can also defend it and advance it and even improve on it in public. But if you start questioning your own decisions, it's incorrect. I think it creates confusion and chaos.
After the explanation that Mr. Mantashe gave you and the explanation that he gave the NWC, as the SACP, are you now satisfied and backing down on your call that he must be disciplined?
We have never called that, we said that he must discipline. We simply said what he felt was bordering on ill discipline. Okay. But we are satisfied with his explanation and reaffirmed our alliance position that SAA must be restructured, we must save jobs and make it profitable. And we met today with even some of the industry experts or people who have practiced in the field, and we've always provided an alternative view. And we think that the rescue practitioner process has never considered that. That is why in our statement, we have also asked the government to make sure that the rescue practitioner process is actually diversified and includes not only a monolithic posture that is already displayed, that people just go there to simply decapitate the institution or dismantle it instead of restructuring it and rebuilding it. So it is in that regard that we felt that a position must be taken clearly by government. And in any case, there's also a misnomer that is in the public indicating that because we have a rescue business process, they must just decide. No, it's not like that, particularly because SAA's loan book is guaranteed by the state, and state is the main shareholder. Every other business rescue process must engage with the shareholder or the creditors. In this case, they don't even do that.
But then what does this mean when we have the debate there's the debate within the ANC as well, and just generally in public, that there should be no interference from the shareholder in the running of state-owned entities? Even the president himself has expressed this. And now we just heard that soundbite that we played earlier on, where the president also was taken by surprise by this decision taken by the business practitioners or rescue practitioners.
It's not interference. It's because the mandate has been deviated. The task of the voluntary business practitioner process it's about restructuring the airline and turning it around. But to cut the entire lines in the country and leave only one line and think you will make money internationally when you can't actually make money or dominate your own domestic market, where if you ever hear that doesn't need a so-called aviation expert to actually understand that this process is completely misguided and wrong. And in any case, from our discussion, we've put on the table a variety of alternatives on what can be done. That's why we also support what the unions have come out to engage with this particular process. But we don't want to spend too much time in that space of legalities. What we want It's a plan. And that plan, government has the right to reject it or accept it.
Okay, what's the next step?
The next step is to engage with our ministers who are responsible for this so that they can rein in this group and make sure that they follow the guidelines that were set. Not to go and do as they please and destroy national interest at the expense of private interest. It's quite clear that these people, in the manner that they are moving, their aprons are literally tied with interest. Private interest? Yes, of course, private interest. There's no way in which there can be this enthusiasm to destroy a national entity without a private interest, which we need to see more of such enthusiasm to rebuild an institution, but not in this form. Okay, thank you so much, Solly Mapaila, the first Deputy General Secretary of the SACP.